Okay, let's talk about a city that's basically defined by two powerful opposing forces: incredible speed and constant tension. We're diving into Tel Aviv, a place where the pace of life feels like everything, everywhere, all at once. So, where do you even start with a place like this? Well, I think the best way to get a handle on it is to see it as a city of collisions. And first up, you've got colliding ideas. Just imagine it: brand new concepts in tech, in culture, in how people live. They're all just crashing into each other, squeezed into this tiny little strip of land on the Mediterranean. Right on top of that, you have colliding capital. We're talking about this intense, nonstop flow of investment that fuels a restless, absolutely relentless pace. In Tel Aviv, you really get the sense that the money moves just as fast as the people. And then there's the big one, the most critical collision of all: conflict. This is the city's fundamental paradox. It's this buzzing, modern, forward-thinking metropolis that, at the same time, has to constantly negotiate its own existence in one of the most volatile regions on Earth. That tension? Yeah, it's the background music to absolutely everything. So, how in the world did this pressure cooker environment get created? It really all comes down to a super unique mix of history and geography, which basically forged the city into the incubator we see today. It's pretty wild when you stop and think about just how young Tel Aviv actually is. This is not some ancient city with roots going back millennia. Nope. It was intentionally founded in the early 20th century, and its growth wasn't gradual. It was explosive, fueled by these huge waves of global migration that turned it into a dense, complex hub almost overnight. And this quote, man, it just nails it. The city's incredible complexity didn't have centuries to evolve. It was basically imported, arriving all at once with each new wave of people, creating this unbelievably diverse social fabric from the get-go. Okay, so you've got that rapid-fire history. Now, throw geography into the mix. The city is literally squeezed. You've got the Mediterranean Sea on one side and political boundaries hemming it in on the others. There's just nowhere for it to grow outwards. And that leads to this perfect, simple phrase to describe what happens next. With nowhere to go horizontally, the only direction left is up. This forces this incredible density, stacking people, businesses, and ideas right on top of each other, which, of course, just makes everything move even faster. So what happens when you combine that kind of historical pressure with that kind of geographic compression? Well, you get a very specific cultural response: relentless innovation. This is what a city looks like when it learns to turn pressure into a powerful engine for creativity. And here's the thing you have to understand about Tel Aviv. Innovation isn't some sector you read about in the business pages. It's a citywide mindset. It's an approach to solving problems that's just baked into daily life. And it's all driven by that constant underlying sense of urgency. This attitude, it really boils down to two key ingredients. First, taking risks is just normal. The whole environment encourages you to try bold, ambitious things. And second, and this might be the most important part, failure is tolerated. A setback isn't the end of your career. It's a data point. It's a lesson. And that 1-2 punch is the real fuel for the city's famous startup scene. But this whole high-speed engine creates a huge economic paradox. On the one hand, the city generates a ton of wealth, but at the exact same time, it drives staggering levels of inequality and makes affordability a massive, massive challenge. Opportunity is everywhere, but the cost of living skyrockets right along with it. So you've got this intense pressure cooker of innovation and insane costs. But what's it actually like to live there? How do people manage a life that is constantly, and I mean constantly, in overdrive? And that really is the million-dollar question, isn't it? What's it actually like on the ground, day to day? Well, life here is a study in contrasts. It's this constant balancing act between intense pressures and the unique ways people find to let off steam. I mean, just look at this contrast. On one side, you've got the daily grind: soul-crushing traffic, impossibly expensive housing that just seems to get smaller. But the city's countermove is to live life outside. Life just spills out onto the streets, into thousands of cafes, and especially onto the beach. These public spaces, they aren't a luxury. They're an absolute necessity. And that right there gets us to this core idea: duality. It's this really unique ability to function with immense tension humming along as constant background noise. Security is a very real factor that shapes the city, but life just continues. People work, they create, they build futures with this remarkable sense of normalcy. You see, this duality goes all the way to the city's identity. There's no single, simple story here. It's a place where secular and religious life, local traditions, and global trends all exist right next to each other. The city doesn't try to resolve these contradictions, it just kind of hosts them all at the same time. So where does a city like this go from here? The momentum is just undeniable, but it forces a really critical question. As Tel Aviv keeps accelerating, can it actually bring everyone along for the ride? And let's be clear, the challenges are huge. Housing affordability is past the crisis point. The infrastructure is seriously straining under all the growth. And then, of course, there's the ever-present backdrop of political uncertainty and regional instability. And yet, despite all of that, the forward momentum is just relentless. The population keeps growing, the city gets denser, and that innovation engine is still firing on all cylinders. Slowing down just doesn't seem to be in its DNA. Which leaves us with this final, crucial question. It's not if Tel Aviv will keep moving fast. That feels like a given. The real question is, can it remain an inclusive city as it accelerates, or will its sheer velocity end up leaving more and more people behind? So, when you boil it all down, Tel Aviv seems to work on this wild three-step loop. First, it compresses life, cramming everything together. Then, that compression intensifies creativity. And finally, it normalizes contradiction, allowing daily life to somehow thrive right in the middle of it all. It's a fascinating model for a city where urgency is the default setting and momentum is everything.